What if the real story of Edgar Lungu's life was never told? Away from the public eye, far from political rallies and statehouse, there's another side to the former Zambian president. Palaces fit for royalty, sprawling golf estates, and whispers of a secret personal life have all fueled speculation. Today, we go inside the world few have seen and reveal the untold story behind Edgar Lungu's hidden life. What really happened behind the closed doors of former Zambian President Edgar Chagwa Lungu's private life? This exclusive documentary reveals his alleged luxury estates, elite golf retreats, and the secrets that have sparked controversy and curiosity across Zambia and beyond. In this investigation by InspirAfrica official, you'll discover the luxurious lifestyle linked to Edgar Lungu after leaving office, allegations of palaces, golf estates, and wealth hidden from the public, the rumored personal relationships that have fueled public debate, why these revelations could change how history remembers him. Watch until the end as we connect the dots between power, politics, and private life. Subscribe to InspirAfrica official for more political exposés and breaking news from Zambia and Africa. The untold story of Edgar Lungu. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, Zambia's sixth president from January 2015 to August 2021, remains one of the most enigmatic and polarizing figures in the nation's political history. Born on November 11, 1956, in Ndola, Zambia, Lungu's journey from a modest upbringing to the presidency was marked by resilience, ambition, and controversy. His tenure as president saw significant infrastructure development, including roads, schools, and hospitals, which his supporters credit with modernizing Zambia. However, his administration was also criticized for economic mismanagement, ballooning national debt, and allegations of authoritarianism, including the 2017 arrest of opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema on treason charges. Lungu's death on June 5, 2025, in a South African hospital at the age of 68, following complications from surgery, intensified debates about his legacy, particularly regarding his wealth, personal life, and the secrecy surrounding his final days. The untold story of Edgar Lungu encompasses not only his public achievements and failures, but also the persistent rumors and allegations that have shaped public perception. From claims of vast wealth and luxurious properties to whispers of secret personal relationships, Lungu's life has been a lightning rod for speculation. The feud over his funeral arrangements, pitting his family against the Zambian government led by Hichilema, further highlighted the deep divisions in Zambian society. This expanded analysis delves into each question posed, providing a comprehensive exploration of Lungu's journey, the controversies surrounding his wealth and personal life, and the broader implications for Zambia's political and social landscape. From state house to secrecy, the path to power. Edgar Lungu's ascent to the presidency was a remarkable journey from humble beginnings. Raised in Ndola, a city in Zambia's Copperbelt region, Lungu was born into a working-class family. He pursued a law degree at the University of Zambia, graduating with a Bachelor of Laws in 1981, and began his career at Andrea Massey and Company in Lusaka. His early professional life was not without challenges. In 2010, the Law Association of Zambia suspended his practicing license due to professional misconduct, a setback that did not deter his political ambitions. Lungu's military training at Miltez in Kabwe under the Zambia National Service (ZNS) added a disciplined edge to his profile, which he later leveraged in his political career. Lungu's entry into politics began with the United Party for National Development (UPND) before he joined the Patriotic Front (PF) in 2001, founded by Michael Sata. His rapid rise within the PF saw him appointed as Deputy Minister in the Vice President's office in 2011, followed by roles as Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Defense, and Minister of Justice. Sata's death in October 2014 thrust Lungu into the national spotlight. After a contentious PF convention in Kabwe, he emerged as the party's candidate for the January 2015 presidential by-election, narrowly defeating Hichilema with 48.33% of the vote to complete Sata's term. In the August 2016 election, Lungu secured a full term, again narrowly defeating Hichilema 50.35% to 47.63%, though the results were disputed, with Hichilema alleging electoral fraud. Lungu's presidency was a study in contrasts. His administration prioritized infrastructure, launching projects like the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway and new hospitals, which supporters argue transformed Zambia's connectivity and public services. However, critics highlight the economic cost, with Zambia's debt rising to over $12 billion by 2020, leading to a default on Eurobond payments, the first African nation to do so post-COVID-19. Lungu's governance style also drew criticism for alleged authoritarianism. The 2017 invocation of a state of emergency and Hichilema's arrest for allegedly endangering Lungu's motorcade fueled accusations of suppressing dissent. Relations with Western donors, including the United States, soured, with Lungu expelling the U.S. ambassador in 2020 over criticisms of his governance. The descent into secrecy. After his defeat in the 2021 election, where Hichilema won by nearly 1 million votes, Lungu announced his retirement from politics, leaving Given Labinda as the PF's acting president. However, his return to active politics in October 2023, reclaiming PF leadership, marked a shift toward a more guarded existence. Lungu alleged police harassment, claiming he was effectively under house arrest and barred from traveling abroad for medical treatment. government. In a May 2024 BBC interview, he stated, "I cannot move out of my house without being accosted and challenged by the police," and accused the government of preventing him from attending international conferences. The Hichilema administration denied these claims, with Information Minister Cornelius Muitwa dismissing them as fiction. Lungu's health became a focal point of speculation. He had a history of medical issues, including achalasia, a condition affecting the esophagus, which required treatment abroad in 2015. In June 2021, he collapsed during a televised military event due to a hypoglycemic attack linked to achalasia. By early 2025, Lungu was in South Africa for specialized treatment for an undisclosed illness. His death on June 5, 2025, at Mediclinic Medforum in Pretoria, following cardiac complications from surgery, was announced by his daughter Tassila Lungu Mwansa, but the lack of an official government statement and the family's secrecy fueled public suspicion. The funeral arrangements became a flashpoint. Lungu's family, citing his explicit instructions that Hichilema should not come anywhere near his body, opted for a private burial in South Africa, rejecting the government's offer of a state funeral in Lusaka. The Zambian government, led by Attorney General Mulalo Kabesha, sought to repatriate Lungu's body, arguing that national law mandated a state funeral with military honors at Embassy Memorial Park, where all other Zambian presidents since independence are buried. The Pretoria High Court's intervention on June 25, 2025, halted the planned burial, leading to a mass at the Cathedral of Christ the King in Johannesburg instead. The government's request to inspect and authenticate Lungu's body, as reported by CAJ News Africa, was condemned by critics like Brian Matambo as an insult to African customs and Lungu's dignity. This secrecy extended beyond the funeral. Reports suggest Lungu was admitted to the hospital under a different name, and the family's refusal to allow public viewing of his body sparked conspiracy theories, with some questioning whether he was truly deceased. The Patriotic Front, led by figures like Raphael Nakasinda, alleged that Lungu's death might have been due to poisoning to prevent his 2026 election bid, though no forensic evidence supports this claim. The shift from the public stage of State House to a cloaked existence in his final years reflects both personal and political motivations, with Lungu's family and supporters seeking to control his narrative amid a bitter feud with Hichilema's government. Palaces and private estates. Allegations of property accumulation. The allegations of Edgar Lungu owning palaces and private estates have been a cornerstone of the controversy surrounding his wealth. During his presidency, Lungu was linked to numerous properties in Zambia and abroad, with critics arguing that his modest background as a lawyer and politician could not account for such assets. In Zambia, reports from outlets like the Zambian Observer and Lusaka Times have pointed to luxurious residences in Lusaka's affluent neighborhoods, such as Roma and Woodlands, though specific ownership records are scarce due to the opacity of Zambia's property registry. A 2023 seizure of 20 properties linked to Lungu's family, including 15 two-story flats, a three-story lodge, a farm, and a house, under the 2010 forfeiture of proceeds of crimes law, intensified scrutiny. The government claimed these assets, valued at millions of dollars, were acquired through illegal means, though Lungu's lawyer, Makibi Zulu, denounced the seizures as a political witch hunt without formal court notification. Emmanuel Mwamba, a PF spokesman, argued that the seizures occurred before investigations were finalized, further fueling perceptions of political vendettas. International properties and Eswatini connection. The most significant allegations involve properties in South Africa and Eswatini. A 2019 memo from the Zambian Financial Intelligence Center, ZFIC, leaked as part of the Swazi Secrets investigation, alleged that Lungu accumulated wealth through corrupt activities, including a plot of land purchased for him in 2018 at a luxury golf estate in Eswatini by construction magnate Michelo Shikantu. Shikantu's company, Inyatsi Road Construction, was accused of securing Zambian road contracts in exchange for bribes, including land and monetary gifts to high-profile individuals like Lungu. Lungu denied these allegations, labeling them malicious, but the memo's delay in transmission until 2022 raised questions about the SFIC's effectiveness and possible political interference. In South Africa, speculation about Lungu owning a private estate in Pretoria or Johannesburg gained traction after his death, as his family's insistence on a private burial there suggested deep ties to the country. While no public records confirm such ownership, the narrative persists, amplified by Zambia's history of public officials acquiring foreign assets. The lack of transparency in Lungu's financial dealings, combined with his family's guarded approach, has made these allegations a focal point of public debate. Contextual analysis. The allegations must be understood within Zambia's political economy. Lungu's presidency coincided with massive borrowing, particularly from China, to fund infrastructure projects. While these projects, such as the $1.2 billion Lusaka-Ndola Road, were touted as developmental, critics argue they created opportunities for elite capture, with public funds allegedly diverted to private accounts. The 2020 debt default underscored the economic strain, with Zambia's debt-to-GDP ratio exceeding 100%. Transparency International's Zambia chapter noted that corruption remains a dark stain on Edgar Lungu's legacy, pointing to the lack of convictions in corruption cases as evidence of systemic weaknesses. Lungu's supporters counter that his wealth, if any, was accumulated through legitimate means, such as his legal practice or investments. However, However, the absence of mandatory asset declarations for former presidents and the politicization of institutions like the Anti-Corruption Commission have hindered efforts to verify these claims. The property allegations reflect broader issues of accountability in Zambia, where public officials' wealth is often a proxy for debates about governance and integrity. Golf courses and luxury retreats. The luxury narrative. Rumors of Lungu owning golf courses and luxury retreats are among the most sensational claims, symbolizing extravagance in a country where over 60% of the population lives below the poverty line. These allegations often stem from social media and opposition-leaning media, portraying Lungu as a leader who indulged in opulent lifestyles while Zambia faced economic challenges. The 2019 ZFIC memo specifically mentioned a plot at a luxury golf estate in Eswatini, allegedly purchased for Lungu by Michelo Shikantu, as evidence of corrupt enrichment. However, no verified evidence confirms Lungu's ownership of operational golf courses or resort-style properties. The narrative of luxury retreats gained traction during Lungu's post-presidency, particularly after his move to South Africa for medical treatment. South Africa's reputation as a destination for affluent Africans fueled speculation that Lungu owned high-end properties there, possibly retreats or vacation homes. The family's decision to hold a private burial in Johannesburg, coupled with their resistance to repatriation, intensified these rumors, though no concrete records, such as property deeds, have surfaced. Political and social implications. The focus on golf courses and luxury retreats reflects deep-seated public frustration with economic inequality. During Lungu's presidency, Zambia faced high inflation, unemployment, and power shortages, which contrasted sharply with reports of elite extravagance. His international trips, including visits to 30 countries between 2015 and 2021, were criticized for their cost, with estimates suggesting millions of dollars in public funds were spent. Critics argue that such expenditures, combined with allegations of personal enrichment, painted Lungu as disconnected from ordinary Zambians. The Eswatini connection, detailed in the ZFIC memo, highlights the transnational nature of these allegations. Shikantu's ties to Eswatini's elite, including his marriage to Foreign Affairs Minister Folile Dlamini Shikantu, suggest a network of influence that facilitated Lungu's alleged acquisitions. However, the lack of follow-through on the memo and Lungu's denial of the allegations underscore the difficulty of substantiating such claims in a politically charged environment. The rumored secret wives. Personal life under scrutiny. Edgar Lungu's marriage to Esther Lungu, whom he married in 1986, was a public fixture during his presidency. Esther, a prominent figure at state events, faced her own controversies, including 2023 charges for stealing vehicles and a title deed, to which she pleaded not guilty. Despite their public unity, rumors of secret wives or extramarital relationships have surfaced, particularly on social media platforms like X and in opposition media. These claims suggest Lungu maintained hidden romantic relationships, possibly during his presidency or post-tenure in South Africa. No credible evidence supports these rumors. They appear to be politically motivated, aimed at undermining Lungu's moral credibility in a predominantly Christian nation where family values are highly prized. The lack of specific details, such as names or documentation, and the absence of public statements from alleged partners suggest these claims are speculative. Lungu's family, particularly Esther and Tassila, have been protective of his legacy, dismissing such rumors as malicious attacks. Cultural and political context. In Zambia, personal attacks are a common political tactic, with allegations of infidelity used to discredit opponents. Lungu's rivalry with Hichilema amplified these narratives, with opposition supporters leveraging rumors to paint him as morally unfit. The secrecy surrounding his final years, including his hospital admission under a different name, has fueled speculation about his personal life, as some interpret the family's guardedness as an attempt to conceal relationships or other secrets. The cultural emphasis on Christian values in Zambia, declared a Christian nation in 1991, makes such rumors particularly damaging. Lungu, a practicing Baptist, often invoked religious rhetoric during his presidency, which made allegations of personal impropriety a potent weapon for critics. However, without substantiation, these rumors remain a reflection of Zambia's polarized political discourse rather than verifiable facts. How Lungu's wealth allegedly grew. Sources of wealth. The question of how Edgar Lungu's wealth allegedly grew is central to the controversies surrounding his legacy. As a lawyer and politician, Lungu's official income included his legal practice earnings, parliamentary salary, and presidential benefits, which included a furnished house, 3 security officers, and medical insurance. However, critics argue that these sources could not account for the scale of wealth attributed to him, leading to allegations of corruption, abuse of office, and illicit financial dealings. A 2024 Lusaka Times article posed the question directly: of all the presidents, how did Edgar Lungu walk away from State House a rich man? The article highlighted the shockingly staggering amounts Lungu allegedly handed out to family members, citing public skepticism about the legitimacy of his wealth. Specific allegations include family assets. Lungu's daughter Tassila, a former ward councillor earning a modest 3,000 kwacha monthly, was linked to substantial wealth, raising questions about her financial growth. A 2023 Lusaka Times report noted public demands for transparency, with critics alleging her wealth wealth was derived from illicit sources linked to her father's presidency. Similarly, Lungu's son Daliso faced charges of money laundering, with 21 motor vehicles valued at K1.5 million and fixed assets worth K31.5 million registered in his name. Eswatini allegations. The 2019 ZFIC memo alleged that Lungu benefited from bribes, including a plot at a luxury golf estate in Eswatini, facilitated by Michelo Shikantu's Inyatsi Road construction, which secured Zambian contracts. The memo suggested Lungu's wealth grew through corrupt dealings tied to infrastructure projects. Property seizures. The 2023 seizure of 20 properties linked to Lungu's family, valued at millions, was cited as evidence of illicit enrichment. The government argued these assets were proceeds of crime, though Lungu's team claimed the seizures were politically motivated. Economic and political context. Lungu's presidency coincided with a period of aggressive borrowing, particularly from China, to fund infrastructure projects. The Lusaka-Ndola dual carriageway, Kenneth Kaunda International Airport expansion, and new hospitals were flagship initiatives, but they came at a cost. By 2020, Zambia's debt reached $12 billion, with a significant portion owed to Chinese creditors. Critics argue that these projects created opportunities for kickbacks and patronage, with public funds allegedly diverted to private accounts. The 2020 debt default, the first in Africa post-COVID-19, highlighted the economic fallout, with Zambia's debt-to-GDP ratio exceeding 100%. The politicization of anti-corruption efforts has complicated investigations into Lungu's wealth. The Hichilema administration's crackdown, including the arrest of Esther Lungu and the seizure of family assets, has been criticized by PF supporters as selective justice. Emmanuel Mwamba noted that no convictions have been secured, suggesting the government is targeting political opponents rather than pursuing impartial justice. Transparency International Zambia chapter emphasized that corruption under Lungu's administration was a dark stain, but the lack of robust institutional frameworks has hindered accountability. Counter-arguments and challenges. Lungu's supporters argue that his wealth, if significant, was accumulated through legitimate means, such as his legal practice before politics or investments during his presidency. His biography, Against All Odds by Anthony Makwita, portrays him as a hard-working lawyer and politician whose rise was earned through dedication. However, the absence of public asset declarations and the secrecy surrounding his financial dealings have fueled suspicions. The fixed delayed action on the 2019 memo and the lack of forensic evidence in corruption cases underscore the challenges of verifying allegations in Zambia's polarized political environment. Public reaction and political fallout. Public sentiment. Lungu's death and the funeral controversy elicited a spectrum of reactions, reflecting his divisive legacy. Supporters, particularly within the PF, mourned him as a transformative leader who brought infrastructure development and inclusivity to Zambia's poorest citizens. Political analyst Lee Habasanda noted that Lungu allowed the poorest of Zambians to get close to the corridors of power, highlighting his grassroots appeal. Radio stations played gospel music during the 16-day national mourning period, reflecting Zambia's Christian identity and the public's emotional response. Critics, however, viewed Lungu's tenure as a period of democratic erosion and economic mismanagement. The Zambian Observer reported public demands for transparency about his death, with some questioning whether he was truly deceased due to the family's refusal to allow body viewing. Social media platforms like X became arenas for debate, with users divided between mourning Lungu and accusing his family of concealing the truth. The funeral dispute, detailed in sources like BBC and Reuters, intensified public frustration as the government's push for a state funeral clashed with the family's desire for a private burial in South Africa. Civil society leaders, such as Emmanuel Chikoya of the Council of Churches in Zambia, called for dialogue to resolve the standoff, warning that it was hurting the dignity of our country. Constitutional lawyer John Chagwa emphasized the need for clear laws on presidential funerals, arguing that the family's wishes should ultimately be respected. The controversy highlighted Zambia's polarized political climate, with Lungu's death reigniting debates about his legacy and the government's intentions. Political fallout. The political fallout from Lungu's death has significant implications for Zambia's future. The PF, already fractured by internal divisions, faces an uncertain path without Lungu's unifying presence. The Tans Alliance, which selected Lungu as its 2026 candidate, must now navigate leadership transitions, with figures like Sean Tembo dismissing claims of PF dominance. The 2026 elections will test the opposition's ability to coalesce without Lungu's influence. The feud with Hichilema's government has deepened polarization. The government's legal actions, including the Pretoria High Court case to halt Lungu's burial, were criticized by PF acting president Given Labinda as turning a solemn occasion into a political game. Allegations of judicial capture, with Hichilema's dismissal of 3 constitutional court judges in 2023, fueled perceptions of political manipulation. The government's request to authenticate Lungu's body sparked conspiracy theories, with PF official Raphael Nakasinda alleging possible poisoning to thwart Lungu's political comeback. The controversy has also reignited calls for stronger anti-corruption measures and public asset disclosures. The seizure of Lungu's family properties and the lack of convictions highlight the challenges of addressing corruption in a politically charged environment. As Zambia approaches the 2026 elections, Lungu's death and the unresolved questions about his wealth and legacy will continue to shape the political landscape. Final thoughts. Separating fact from rumor? The challenge of verification. Separating fact from rumor in Edgar Lungu's story is a daunting task, given the lack of transparency, polarized narratives, and limited access to verified information. The allegations of vast wealth, luxury properties, and secret personal relationships are rooted in Zambia's history of corruption and the opacity of public officials' financial affairs. The 2019 ZFIC memo, property seizures, and public speculation provide circumstantial evidence, but the absence of forensic proof or convictions leaves these claims unverified. The secrecy surrounding Lungu's death, including his hospital admission under a different name and the family's refusal to allow body viewing, has fueled conspiracy theories. The PF's allegations of poisoning and government persecution, while serious, lack substantiation, reflecting the emotional and political stakes of his passing. The funeral dispute, with its legal and diplomatic complexities, underscores the difficulty of reconciling personal wishes with national interests in a polarized society. Critical analysis. Lungu's legacy is a complex tapestry of achievements and controversies. His infrastructure projects transformed Zambia's landscape, but the economic cost, including the 2020 debt default, remains a point of contention. Allegations of authoritarianism, such as Hichilema's 2017 arrest, contrast with his supporters' view of him as a leader who empowered the marginalized. The wealth allegations, while compelling, are marred by political motivations, with the Hichilema administration's actions seen as selective by PF loyalists. The rumors of secret wives and luxury retreats appear to be largely speculative, driven by political opponents and amplified by social media. The Eswatini Gulf estate allegation is the most concrete, but Lungu's denial and the lack of follow-through by authorities weaken its credibility. The funeral controversy, while rooted in a genuine feud, reflects broader issues of trust and governance in Zambia, where personal and political rivalries often overshadow national unity. Conclusion. Edgar Lungu's untold story is one of ambition, controversy, and enduring mystery. From his rise to State House to the secrecy of his final days, Lungu's life encapsulates the complexities of Zambian politics. The allegations of wealth, properties, and personal scandals, while unproven, highlight the need for greater transparency and accountability in governance. The public reaction and political fallout from his death underscore the fragility of Zambia's democratic institutions and the challenge of navigating a polarized society. As Zambia moves forward, Lungu's legacy will remain contested, shaped by competing narratives of progress and failure. Separating fact from rumor requires robust institutions, public disclosure of assets, and a commitment to truth over political expediency. Lungu's story is a reminder of the enduring power of narrative in shaping history and the responsibility of citizens and leaders to seek clarity amid speculation.